I found a map in an old and dusty box in my grandmother's attic. The map marked a location deep within the Pine Barrens. Next to it, there was a creepy letter that read, "The Black Doctor arrives at midnight." The Black Doctor, according to folklore, Dr. James, still practiced medicine in the Pine Barrens. In the 1800s, however, it was said that after he died, his spirit roamed this area. The last line of the letter sent shivers down my spine. Her eyes shine in the dark. At that moment, I decided to solve this legend. When I arrived at the Pine Barrens, the moonlight filtered through the trees. I got out of the car, and when the engine stopped, there was silence. It was so quiet that even my breath echoed. I took my flashlight camera and map in my hand. I took my first step and the pine needles rustled. But then I heard something else, a soft murmur as if someone were praying. I paused this sound. Did it come from the forest, or had I succumbed to the paranoia of my grandmother's map to continue on my path? I looked at the map in my hand. As I studied the map, my flashlight flickered for a moment, casting eerie shadows across the paper. I steadied my trembling hand and noticed something I hadn't seen before. A faint handwritten note in the corner that read, "Beware the healer's curse." My stomach churned Dr. James. Still, the Black Doctor was known as a healer in life. But the legends whispered of a darker side. Some said he made pacts with forces beyond our understanding, trading his soul to cure the incurable. In death, his spirit was bound to the Pine Barrens, seeking those who dared to tread too close to his secrets. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the thought. But the air felt heavier now, as if the forest itself was watching me. The murmur I heard earlier grew louder, almost like a chant echoing through the trees. My flashlight beam darted around, but the darkness swallowed everything. Was this the curse the note warned about? I couldn't turn back. Now I had to find the truth. I pressed forward, the map guiding me deeper into the Pine Barrens. The ground beneath my feet turned soft and muddy, each step sucking at my boots, as if the swamp didn't want to let me go. The air grew colder and a faint mist began to rise, curling around the trees like ghostly fingers. I remembered another tale about the Black Doctor, how he would appear to lost travelers, offering help with a smile, only to lead them to their doom. They said his lantern wasn't just a light. It was a lure drawing in the curious and the desperate. My heart pounded as I thought about that flickering light I had seen earlier. Was I walking into his trap? The pine trees loomed taller, now their branches twisting into shapes that looked almost human, reaching out as if to grab me. A sudden gust of wind carried a faint scent of iodine, sharp and medicinal. It was the same smell I'd read about in the legends. He was close, I could feel it. A map showed me a place deep in the swamp. Labeled Doctor's Refuge, I passed through small, narrow paths and tree branches, scratched my face while walking. I slipped and hit my right foot against a stone. I was injured, but I didn't want to turn back and continued on my way. Finally, I approached a cabin surrounded by stone walls. I had arrived at the lair of the Black Doctor. I looked at my map again. A black serpent staff was depicted. Looking closer, I saw the staff hanging at the door of the shelter. It seemed as if it would stop anyone who tried to enter. Was this really the place of the Black Doctor? While wandering around the shelter, I saw a note on the map that said, "A lantern will come at midnight." A lantern. I looked around, dark, empty, but then a voice, a silent but clear whisper. Like a prayer, I pointed my flashlight. Did the shadows move the wind? I told myself, but does the wind pray? My heart raced. I was so excited that I didn't even feel the pain in my foot. I looked at the map again, and it directed me to the swamp. A hunter had claimed to have seen the Black Doctor here. I noticed footprints in a spot. My flashlight could barely illuminate. The footprints were old, but progressed in an orderly manner, each step at equal distances. A little further ahead, there were old train tracks. I approached. There were dark stains that resembled burn marks. I touched the stains, my hand burned. How is this possible? I crossed the tracks and entered the wooded area again. As I walked, I heard a branch snap. I looked to my right, to my left. Up and down, but I didn't see anything. However, I had a feeling that I was being watched. I shouted, "Who's there?" My voice got lost in the depths of the forest. The shadows were dancing an animal number. This wasn't human. My breath became short and shallow. Was something approaching? I found a campsite. The campers had claimed they saw the Black Doctor here, leaving their belongings behind and fleeing. The area was messy with a torn tent, signs of a toppled fire, and a hat. On the hat, there was a discoloration as if it had been burned. Could this be his hat at that moment? I noticed a smell iodine tincture. Sharp and unpleasant. Was this his place? It was almost midnight. I lit a fire, but the darkness was incredibly dense. I said to myself, it's almost 12 o'clock. The wooded area, incredibly peaceful. Then a light, a flickering, weak flashlight beam approached. Me from a distance. The whispers became clearer. Was this a prayer? I pointed my flashlight in that direction. Is this a Black Doctor? The brightness immediately vanished. Fear enveloped my body, but my curiosity prevailed. I followed the light. I got stuck in the swamp. But I didn't stop. I reached an opening, and the moonlight illuminated everything. And there it was, a figure wearing a black coat and hat. He was holding a lantern. His face was in the shadows. I pointed my lantern at him and shouted in fear, "Are you the Black Doctor?" The figure turned to me. His eyes were shining in the dark, black, deep, and cold. The lamp fell to the ground and went out. The soil was burnt. The smell of iodine burned my throat. I almost dropped my lantern. "What do you want from me?" He murmured a prayer, and then he moved toward me. His footsteps burned the ground like fire. Fear consumed me. I ran the branches, scratched my face, and I sank into the swamp. I could hear whispers behind me, as if they were everywhere. I couldn't look back. I arrived at the campsite, grabbed my belongings, and made it to the car. How did I get there? I don't know. On the main road, out of breath. My hands were trembling. Was he still following me? Was he still following me? Was he still following me? At home, I locked the door. I placed the map on the table. I thought about those eyes for hours. The Black Doctor was still in my mind. His lantern, his eyes staring into mine. It was already past midnight. But I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking. It heals, but it takes a person's soul. That night and many nights after. I couldn't sleep. What if he comes back? What if he comes back? What if he comes back? The Pine Barrens hold more secrets than you can imagine. Legends that haunt every state. Do you dare to uncover them with me? Subscribe now and join me next time as we unveil another chilling mystery in the shadows of the states. Tell me in the comments, have you ever encountered a legend like the Black Doctor? Let's unravel the darkness together.